Hello, bonjour, здравствуйте, assalamu alaikum, guten tag, and a big hello and welcome to the Knitters Party podcast. I feel like I just missed a few right there. Sorry if I forgot your language. I don't actually speak all of those languages that I, greet people in the beginning, but I do love learning languages and learning about other cultures, traveling, etc. Anyway, babbling on already, this is the Knitters Party podcast. Hello, welcome. I'm coming to you from Clarkston, Michigan, where I am currently staying with my parents for a little while my husband and I await a flight to Egypt, but more on that a little bit later. I am super excited to be back, as always. I've got a few fun things to show you this episode. Not quite as many as last time, but still a good amount. But let's just kick this party off, shall we? It's time to drink. Cheers! So this beer that I have today is from Keweenaw Brewing Company, and it's called Borealis Brew. And now anyone who's been watching the podcast for a little bit probably knows that I love the Aurora Borealis. I have unfortunately had this beer before, so this isn't a super new beer experience for me. And unfortunately, I already know that this beer sort of sucks. They sucked me in with promise of Aurora Borealis. It is like a coffee amber ale, but I know that it's pretty shitty. However, it's like one of the only things we have in the fridge, so I'm just gonna make the most out of a bad situation. What can you do? How have you guys been? I feel like it's been 3-4 weeks since my last episode. Ooh, that wasn't the best pour of my life, but whatever, we'll do just fine here. Yeah, how have you guys been? I feel like I've had a really interesting couple of weeks. We ended up booking a flight to Egypt. Finally, so our date that we are leaving is December 7th. If you are new to the podcast, first of all, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. My husband and I are going to be moving to Egypt on December 7th, 2017. That is 1 week from the day that I am filming this podcast. And honestly, I am so excited. I couldn't be more excited. Although our funding didn't necessarily go through, we don't have those research permissions that we've been waiting on for months and months. We decided that we couldn't wait any longer. Tickets were cheap in early December as opposed to going after the holidays. And so my husband and I just decided, let's do it. So we booked our tickets to Egypt, which means this is going to be my last my last podcast from Clarkston before I move out to Cairo, Egypt, where, we're going to be there for 6 to 8 months. My husband's going to be doing PhD research, and I will be teaching English at a super cool English school called Reach Out Academy in Giza. So if you know anybody in Egypt, let me know, because I am going there basically without any friends in the Cairo area. We're a little not scared, just like nervous, apprehensive, and looking forward to the whole experience. But definitely we have a few things to do and finish up before we go. So anyway, that was our update. I meant to save that for the end, but I can't keep a secret to save my life. Cheers! We're finally going to Egypt. I know I've been promising this for months and months, but this time it's actually happening. Oh, that's a weird beer. Oh boy. Keweenaw is a company out of the Keweenaw Peninsula in Michigan, basically. So Michigan is like the lower peninsula, which looks like a mitt, and then the upper peninsula, which looks like a rabbit, and then the Keweenaw Peninsula is this little guy up here at the top of the upper peninsula. Anyway, I've been to the Keweenaw. It's a beautiful place to visit. There's all sorts of outdoor activities, hiking, kayaking, all sorts of fun stuff, but apparently I will not be visiting their brewery. You promised me Aurora Borealis, but you're delivering me like gross, nasty coffee stuff. Let's get into it, shall we? Heyo! I only have one finished object for the day, and this one goes out to a very special lady, my mother-in-law. She doesn't even really have to ask me anymore. She just has to hint that she likes something that I make, and she knows that I'm going to make her another one for herself. And so, can you recognize this pattern? These are the Fisherman Mitts by Meg Roke. And this is my second pair. The first pair I showed on my last episode, all about the finished objects. And she commented and sent me an email, and she's like, hey, I really like those fingerless mitts, I'm always cold when I'm reading my Kindle, but I can't wear gloves because you can't touch anything. And so, fingerless mitts, what a good idea. What a novel idea. And I was like, ask and you shall receive, Mom. She knows that she could just not even ask. She could just hint at it. And here we are. So this yarn is left over from her cowl that I made her, as well as the starfish that I made her. So this is Karen Simply Soft. I think the colorway is just called teal. I'm not sure. But I made these for her because she is so knitworthy and she reads a lot from her Kindle. And so if I can help her stay warm, good. So a couple modifications that I did. The pattern is written for a sport weight yarn, which worked out perfectly, and the ones that I had made for last episode were out of a sport weight yarn. Karen Simply Soft is a worsted, almost a heavy worsted. So I did have to do a little bit of finagling here. I basically made the child size, but with worsted weight yarn and larger needles. And so it all turned out gravy. I mean, there's no problem here. It is a nice sort of stretchy pattern with that rib on the side. And so there's no worries with, you know, like how wide it is or anything. It worked out really perfectly. And so that's all I can do, you know? So Mom, I hope you enjoy these. These are the Fisherman Mitts by Meg Roke. And you're so worth it. These are going to be coming in the mail very soon. I just wanted to finish these up before I sent out your little care package for, I guess it's for the holidays. Really, it's just because I love you and I like knitting for you because you appreciate my knits and you are so knit-worthy. So, Mom, these are for you. Stay warm. Keep reading. Love you. All right, that's it. That's my only finished object for the episode. I have been knitting like crazy, but on a very few number of projects. And so I'm going to be like working through them a little bit. Going on to my works in progress, sort of what's on the needles. The one I'm going to start with is something like a little bit of a passion project for me. I sometimes will get these bouts of inspiration where I just feel like, you know, drawing something and knitting it out. And so I'm sort of designing a shawl pattern. I'll just show you guys and you can sort of see what you like about it. So this is going to be a V-shaped shawl. So far it is called the shawl with no name. So it doesn't have a name yet. It will be getting one obviously if I ever put the pattern out, but I really wanted a different sort of shawl design. And so I love the look of a triangle shawl, but I hate that it all sort of bunches up around your neck and you don't get to see all the knitting that you've done. And granted, that's all the shorter rows that you have, you know, fewer than 100 stitches, but it all just bunches up. And so it gets hot. You don't get to see your knitting. You don't get to show it off. And it just feels like you do a lot of knitting for no reason because it just bunches up. You can't see it. And so I decided to make a shawl that was actually V-shaped. Like, so it comes in at the middle and it actually comes up into a V as opposed to a triangle which has a straight edge and comes down, you know, around the bottom of the shawl. And so I'm thinking there and I'm trying to rack my brain, how would I make this shape? And I know that I don't want it to be super deep, so maybe, you know, just maybe that deep I think is fine, just enough to be like maybe a lightweight shawl, but long, something that will wrap around and be really luxurious, you know, to wrap around and have a beautiful V-shaped shawl. And so I think I might call this Veni, Vidi, Vici, which is sort of an old Latin term, but it has a bunch of V's in it. So let me know if you think that's super corny or whatever. But it's going to be divided into 3 sections. This first section, you'll see, has like a mock rib. And I really love the beads. I wanted the beads in there because I just really like the look of beaded knitting, but sometimes there are too many beads and it can bring your shawl down, it can weigh it down. So this is the second section, which is really just garter stitch for sure right now, but a couple of nice bead placements. And I'm working on the third section, which is going to have a bunch of eyelets, but so far it's not super deep, which I like. And the third section is going to be just as deep as sections 1 and 2. But I think this shawl has an interesting construction and it's something I haven't seen before. So before I go into too much detail, because I'm designing this and I might put it out as a paid for pattern, I'm not going to sort of tell you guys how it's constructed, but I hope it wouldn't be too complicated because a normal shawl, you know, you cast on a couple stitches and then you add on either side and then you add in the middle. So you have increases in the middle of the shawl and you have increases on either end of the shawl. This one doesn't exactly do that. And so I'd be wondering if people would get confused or if people would, I'm not sure. Anyway, if I decide to keep going with this, I sort of put this project down about 2 weeks ago and haven't picked it back up. So I feel really bad, but I like it so far. And the reason I did this is because I had a beautiful skein of yarn in my collection with some beautiful beads that I thought would go perfectly with it. You know what? I'm gonna go grab them right now. So this is the yarn that I initially had set out for it. Oh man, that color is totally blowing out. This is a lime green. It's like a mossy green, like a yellowy green color. And I had these beautiful blue beads to go with it. These are just like a really royal blue color. But oh, that's a good representation. I love these colors together, and I wanted to find a shawl with some beads in it. And I was perusing Ravelry, and I didn't find anything that really striked my fancy, you know? And so I decided, hey, I'm pretty good with math and with, you know, knitting, I guess, so I'm gonna design my own shawl. And so I went out to the craft store and I bought this yarn, which is Serenity Sock Weight by Plymouth Yarns. I think it was like $3.99 at Michael's or Joann Fabrics. This is just the color white, 5332. Oh, soft white, I'm sorry. These are 50-gram balls. I bought 2 of them. I don't even know if I'm gonna use 1.5, let alone both of them. And so this is definitely going to be a very easy stash busting pattern if and when I ever finish it. It's pretty long so far. I hope that each half of the section will be about 1.5 feet long, which will mean that the whole thing, 4.5 feet on either side, that's 9 feet long to go around. I think that's plenty long enough. It might even be fine if it's about 1 foot on either side per section. So that would be a 6-foot shawl. I'm not sure, but you know what? Talking about this right now is actually making me feel like I want to knit it again and keep going with it. But you'll see the reason that I stopped doing this right now. So actually, please let me know in the comments, would you be interested in having me write up this pattern and maybe release it? Would anyone be interested to do a test knit for me for this beaded shawl? I would obviously give instructions for the beaded version, and if you did not want beads, you could just make it without beads, and I'm sure it would be beautiful. I just wanted 3 really different sections to this shawl. I think it's going to be pretty, and hopefully you guys would like it too. So do let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in sort of seeing this pattern up on Ravelry. And I'd probably put out a nice coupon code for any podcast viewers that I have who wanted to knit it as well. So let me know if you would like this pattern. Let me know if you think it's pretty. Let me know if you would be interested to test knit this if I decided to write it up one day. And, you know, do let me know if you think it's kind of cool and if you like beaded knits or not. I love beaded knits. I just like to diversify my portfolio a little bit, you know? So I like something with beads. I like something with lace. I like cables. I like, you know, color work. I like all sorts of things. I just don't like knitting the same thing over and over and over again. I say as I've made about 10 of those, like, you know, cabled neck warmers. I've made 2 pair of these fisherman mitts. I don't know. I've been on a cable kick lately, but that's for sure. Anyway, so I think once I finish this one, and if I do write it up, my next test knit will be knit in this beautiful color, this incredible lime green with these blue beads. And this is alpaca. This yarn, oh, okay, I always like to save my thing. This is my Juniper Moon Farm Harriet Fine Baby Alpaca. This is 75% alpaca, 25% polyamide, which is a nylon, and the colorway is Pampa Sunrise. Oh, I just love that. So anyway, that's what this yarn is. That's what the project is going to be once I finish it. But yeah, so that's that. Alrighty then, moving right along. My next work in progress is actually sort of a hoe. It's not a sock. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen this a couple weeks ago. But I'm so excited because this is like my favorite thing in the whole wide world. Have I you know, pumped it up enough for you guys? Good. I'm gonna make you wait for it. Owl mittens. Owl mittens. Colorwork owl mittens. Mittens. Owl mittens. Yeah. Got some owl mittens. moving to Egypt. I don't know why I'm gonna need mittens, but I'm making them anyway. Yeah! This pattern is called Horatio and Oren. The name of the designer is Barbara Gregory. And if you get the Hirschner's catalog, which everybody should because it's an amazing catalog, it's fun, it's crafty, it's inspirational, and they had this on the front cover of the Hirschner's catalog, and I was like, oh my god, I can't not make those. And of course it's made with sport weight yarn, and guess what yarn this is? Obviously it is my Mid-Knit Cravings, my Mid-Knit Cravings Superwash Sport Base, which is 75% Superwash Merino, 25% nylon. These are the colorways. It's a party after all, and my other favorite, the Velvet Plum colorway. And so Mid-Knit Cravings, I love your yarn. You know, I can't just make one thing. I bought this yarn, God, a year ago now, almost a year ago I would say, and I just love it. I will knit with every little scrap that I have. This is the leftover that I have from this first mitten. I made something else with these. What did I make with them? Oh, I made those fingerless mitts, obviously, the Fisherman Mitts by Meg Roke. I made those the first time using this yarn. And so I had quite a bit left over, but not enough to make a whole second pair. So I was like, I need to find a Colorwork project. So I mixed it with my leftover that I had made, the Winter Wheat Beanie I had made with this Velvet Plum, this purple colorway. And so I had enough left over for both, and I'm making a beautiful mitten. So for my second one, I've knit the cuff, and I actually knit this a week ago, 2 weeks ago now. God, it's been a while. My local yarn store in Clarkston has a knit night every Thursday. Obviously last Thursday was Thanksgiving, so I didn't go to that. But the one before, I just knit this cuff, and I have sort of not knit on it since, but it's a really fun project, super interesting. And let me talk about my floats, because I'm a little impressed with myself. I have not done a Colorwork project in a very long time. Ooh, just got something in my eye, oh my god. I haven't done a Colorwork project in a very long time, and I was really impressed with my floats, actually. My tension is pretty good. My gauge is fine. It's not a problem at all. There are only a couple times where there's like a loop that sort of, I maybe gave it a little bit extra room that it didn't need, and now so that stitch is a little wonky. I have not blocked this out yet. I'm hoping once I block it and you know, steam it, press it, obviously I don't steam or press my knits, whatever. What am I talking about? When I soak it and put it all back in there, I think it's gonna be good. But this is all Colorwork. There is not a single row where you can just, you know, go around, except for at the very tippy top, which I think is interesting, because you'll see that all my floats end right up here, and that's because the eyes of the owl are basically right here, and then the top of the head, you just switch to your second color, right? But it's super interesting and weird that on a mitten, they would have the very tip where your fingertips are, like uncovered by that second layer of warm wool. And so it makes sense for the design, but I think for my next mitten, I might keep just floating my blue yarn in the back so that I have, for this section, so that I have that second layer of warmth, because I think it is just a little interesting that the very tip of your fingers where you need the most warmth doesn't have any of that second layer. But anyway, this is a brilliant pattern. I love the back of it. It's got like a little tail feather, but it almost looks like a little butt. So I have like a beautiful owl with a cute little butt, little feathers the whole way, leaves at the bottom. Oh my god, I just think these are absolutely stunning mittens. And so I hopefully will be finishing this before I go to Egypt. I don't think I'm gonna bring them to Egypt. I have 1 week. Here's the thing, I have 1 week and I wanna finish all my works in progress. I don't wanna bring any works in progress with me to Egypt if I can avoid it. Because I don't think I'm not gonna be wearing double-lined wool mittens, that's for sure. You know, maybe this white and black shawl, I really hope I can finish that, because that would be a lovely thing. For example, if I'm wearing this dress, this is too much skin to be showing in Egypt, and so if I just have this lightweight shawl that comes down to here maybe, I think that's a perfect way to sort of cover up without adding bulk or weight to my wardrobe. So I'm hoping that that's all gonna happen. But I just love this pattern. I can't get enough. Yeah, so that is my second work in progress. And that is currently living in my beautiful project bag. This project bag is Nola Delille Handmade Designs, and I love it because it is a super easy drawstring. I got this for Christmas last year, thanks Mom, and I use it all the time. This is my one and only real project bag, other than like a Ziploc or like a, you know, Kroger bag, whatever I use. But this one is the only one that I properly have, and it's perfect for really anything. I can shove as much knitting as I want in here, so I don't find that this is a small bag at all. All right, that's that. On to my last couple of works in progress. I can finally break the news, spill the beans. I am going to be an aunt. So my sister is pregnant. It's a girl. Her name is going to be Devin Lauren, and I am so excited that I'm going to have a little niece in the family and that I can, you know, keep knitting for her. So all these baby things that I have made over the last couple of weeks are for my sister, for her little nugget baby Devin. And she's like 16 weeks along now, and so it's finally safe to tell the news, and we're all really excited. But that means that I've also been knitting a couple of just little baby things, baby accessories and whatnot. So the big thing I'm going to save for last, but this thing, I actually started on a crochet project for little baby Devin, little nugget, and I'm going to be making, it doesn't look like much right now, I'm going to be making a teddy bear. So far, all I have is like almost the face. So this little head here is the head. This is like the little snout. And when you put them together, I guess it makes a face. Yeah, and this is crocheted. This yarn is Knit Picks Brava worsted in the Dove Heather colorway. Yeah, and I am using a size F or 3.75 millimeter hook with this. I just wanted a really tight gauge so that you wouldn't find stuffing falling through, so that there's no holes coming through, and so that when you wash this a million times, it just gets stronger. And if it sort of plumps up a little bit, all the better, but if it doesn't, no big deal. So this is going to be a teddy bear. This is the Bear in a GIF pattern by Lion Brand Yarns. It's free on Ravelry, really easy, well-written pattern. I mean, I was really impressed. As a knitter, whenever I switch to crochet for something, I'm not like a very skilled crocheter, and I find that crochet patterns can sometimes be written in a way that is hard to understand, you know? With knitting, every stitch is one. So you K6, you know, K7, knit however many. But with crochet, you can single crochet, double crochet, whatever in each stitch, or you can single crochet 2 in the same stitch to make an additional stitch, right? And so you can't just say like, you know, crochet 5, because that wouldn't mean 5 different stitches. It might mean 5 in the same stitch. And so everything is written out a little bit, like just a little bit more detailed. So they'll say single crochet into the next 5 stitches. But then if you have a pattern where you're doing something fancy or you're making short rows, whatever, it sort of gets a little confusing in my opinion. Anyway, this pattern is not confusing at all. It's very well written. It's super easy. It's from Lion Brand Yarns. So if you have never crocheted anything and you're interested in like an amigurumi or like a stuffed animal sort of plushie, you know, give them a try because I feel like they would be a good one. This pattern is written for bulky weight yarn, and here I am using worsted, and so mine is going to be significantly smaller than the 12-inch bear that they say they make. Mine's probably going to be like 6 to 8 inches, and that's okay. This is for a newborn, and so that's that. You know, they're not going to outgrow this bear for a couple of years, and so when they do, I'd be happy to make them another one. But yeah, I think so far this looks sort of like an alien. It's very weird. Oh, yeah, let me tell you about my trip to Michael's, guys. So this pattern calls for safety eyes, you know, just like eyes that you put in and it sticks to the inside of the bear so that your eyes don't pop out. They're safety eyes. They're made for pets and babies and things that, you know, you don't want pieces popping out, like a button could come off, for example. So I go to Michael's and I scour the whole store. First of all, there's nobody there to help. There was no associate, you know, just wandering around asking people if they needed help finding anything. So after wandering the entire store, I get in line just to talk to an associate because that's where all of them are. They're all cashing people out in line. Fine. So I finally get up there and I ask the lady, she's like, oh yeah, you know, like, are you all set today? And I was like, well, actually, no, I have a question. You know, I'm looking for safety eyes, and I've checked in the yarn section, I've checked with the googly eyes, I've checked everywhere. I can't find them. And so she gets on her little microphone and she's like, hey, do we have safety eyes? Like, anybody know? And they were like, no, all we have are googly eyes. And I'm like, what good is a craft store that doesn't sell craft supplies? You know what I mean? So I've known for a while that my local Michael's is sort of a dud. Like, my local Michael's is a lemon. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. My local Michael's sucks. And so I have to now go out to Joann's just to get some safety eyes, even though it's a little bit further, a little more out of the way. Whatever, thus is life. This little baby Devon better be worth it. Kid, you better know what I'm doing for you. I'm driving all over Hell's Half Acre for you. No, obviously I'm happy to do it, but I was just, you know, sort of upset that I drove all the way out to Michael's and they did not have what I was looking for. So I know you can buy safety eyes online. If you knit a lot of plushies, like stuffed animals, teddy bears, what have you, this is what I did when we lived in San Diego, because I was knitting a bunch of amigurumi. I bought like a big value pack, and it had like 100 eyes of different colors and sizes, 100 eyes with 100 little fasteners for the back of it. And it was great. It was like $5 on Amazon. And I think the reason that Michael's doesn't sell it is because it's like a really cheap item, and so they can't make money on it. I sort of understand, but at the same time, you're a craft supply store. Like, sell me the little things, and then I'll buy it with the big things. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta sell them both. Anyway, that I just started like 2 days ago, so this is going to be done in a hurry. But the thing that has been taking up all of my time, let me back up a little bit. I've been knitting pretty much nonstop on one item this whole time, and that is a baby blanket. So this is a huge baby blanket. It's actually not even that big. I'm hoping it's going to stretch out a little bit wider and become like a little wider baby blanket. This is a baby blanket. I have to say, I actually love the colors. I mean, nothing says baby like gray and black, am I right? But, but I think it's a really beautiful blanket. It's really striking, geometric. This is the Garter Chevron blanket by Catherine Anderson. And it's really beautiful. And it's all garter stitch. I have not purled one stitch. And I'm loving it. So this is knit with Knit Picks Brava worsted yarn. The colorways are, let me just throw that over my shoulder. Colorways are black, cobblestone heather, dove heather, and white. And I think this is absolutely stunning. So it's a pretty long blanket so far compared to me. So like, you know, it's a good like probably 3.5 feet tall for now. Maybe like 2 feet wide. I hope it gets a little bit wider. But, sorry, let me just like shuffle on back into view here. But yeah, so my sister did request a baby blanket in these colors, and at first I was like, oh my god, this baby's gonna be colorblind and they're never gonna know. But I think this is really beautiful. Like I said, it's super striking, beautiful, and this is definitely my sister's aesthetic. And so, you know, in the baby room, she really wants like soft, you know, grayscale colors and black and white beautiful backdrops. I think it's going to be a really beautiful, interesting baby room, but I think she's going to love this. And Amanda, my sister, she doesn't watch this, so that I'm totally safe. She doesn't know she knows that she's getting this. She saw the colors, but she was in town like last week. I hung out with her for Thanksgiving, and she goes, oh, Megan, you know, like, are you working on anything for the baby? And I was like, yeah, I'm, you know, working on the blanket. And she goes, oh, do you mind if I see it? You know, I hate surprises. You know, can I see it? I want to make sure it matches the decor of the baby room. And by this point, I was already like halfway through. So I was like, Amanda, you know, like, yeah, sure. Let me show it to you later. We're cooking now, or we're busy right now. And so I totally blew her off, and I didn't let her see it because I know she's going to love it. I know she's going to think it's absolutely beautiful. And I don't want to spoil her surprise. She knows everything else that she's getting. She's picked out everything, every color, whatever, which is fine. You know, it's her baby. I don't want to give her some ugly thing that she doesn't like, but she's going to love this. So all I have left is one more stripe of white, and then I'm done. And the reason I'm spending so much time on this is because my next episode will most likely be from Egypt, and so I am not going to have this. I'm going to leave this in Michigan for her, and so take a good look now because this is the last you're going to see of it. I'll put up more pictures on Ravelry when I'm all done, but for now you can see it. There's only 3 repeats of every color, and I think that's enough. You know, it's a tall baby blanket already. This is also knit with knit picks. I don't expect that this is going to be a forever blanket. I don't think this is going to be on a twin bed. I don't think that this is going to last more than 5 or 6 years at the longest. And so I'm not worried about making a large bed, you know, bedspread or anything. Also, I know I appreciate new things. And so if somebody gave me something, I don't care who gave it to me. If I didn't choose it myself, if I didn't make it or choose it or whatever, I don't know that I'm going to want that in 5-10 years down the road. And I'm not one of these people who will just keep a gift forever because it was gifted to me. I sort of need new things every now and again. I need variety. I just need new things. And so if this lasts for 5 years before my sister donates it or it's scrapped or gets holes or whatever, that's fine with me. I really don't mind if she, you know, gets rid of this when the kid's ready for a new one. And so that's that. So a little bit about this pattern. I think it's free. It's a chevron. It's not hard. I'm not going to give away any secrets, but I think it's a free pattern. Whatever. I was going to make a stockinette stitch garter blanket because I do think that stockinette is prettier. But I was thinking about it and I was like, this is going to be maybe 60 hours of knitting. This is going to be maybe a million stitches. How many of those do I want to purl? When I'm making a giant blanket, this is already like cumbersome to knit with because it sort of lays in my lap when I'm knitting on it. You know, I'm just whatever knitting on it. It lays in my lap, it's heavy. And I didn't want to be purling with a huge heavy blanket in my lap. So I made the decision to do a garter chevron. And I'm actually really happy with that decision because it's super squishy. Like you can just feel, if you ball this up and like, you can squish it a whole lot. And I think it's really soft. I also feel like garter stitch hides your seams a little bit better. So I dare you to look, try to find where I wove in my ends. Try to see where there might be a little, you know, a little knot poking out. Try to find it. You're not going to because this hides everything. This is the back. I actually don't mind these little ridges where the colors mix and meet. I think it adds like a different sort of look, maybe like a, I don't know. I think this could almost be a reversible blanket. Of course, I prefer the right side with its really clean lines, but even the wrong side doesn't look bad. So I'm happy with this. I'm stoked about this blanket, and I know that my sister is going to be too. So Amanda, if you are watching, I hope you love it. I don't think she watches. She could care less about knitting, which is fine, but she knows that I am knitting a baby blanket. So here it is. Hooray! So I'm going to be done with this, I want to say tomorrow. I'm going to do just my last stripe of white and call it a day. But that also means that I have a ton of yarn left over. This Dove Heather, ooh, oh my god, it was wrapped around my beard. This is like almost an entire skein of the Dove Heather colorway, which is the one I just finished here. Like, you have an entire skein left of every color, just about. I did screw up when I first started with the black on the bottom, and so I have just a little bit of black that wasn't used. I just like had to scrap like a little ball of it. Anyway, so I have less than a skein of that, but I have pretty much a full skein of every other colorway that I have here. And so I think, you know, whatever. So that's why I'm making a teddy bear out of the gray. I'll probably just keep the black and white, especially those are really useful for like amigurumi eyes for like penguins and whatever else I want to make. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the gray, but if it's Amanda's favorite color, maybe I'll make more baby toys out of the remaining gray yarn. I do want to make some non-gray baby toys, but you know, those are sort of on the back burner just because I'm not going to bring. Could you imagine stuffing my suitcase with literally fiberfill? Fiberfill just comes in a giant bag. It's all air and like stuffing. I'm not going to bring that to Egypt. What a waste of space. And so I'm not going to be knitting any toys in Egypt. And so I'm trying to make this teddy bear now. I have that octopus from last time, which is okay. And, you know, baby blanket. I have another onesie, and that's it. Oh, a hat. Maybe I'll see if I can make some booties, but I'm not trying to like kill myself doing this stuff before I leave. Anyway, that's all the works in progress. That's all the knitting that I have for right now. I want to talk for just a little bit about my trip, my upcoming trip to Egypt. And this is something that we've been living at home with my mom and dad for about 4 months now, and they are so generous to have us stay there. We're not paying rent to them. We are unemployed because we thought we were going to be leaving in October, and so we're here 2 months later than we expected. We never knew we were going to be this long. So anyway, my parents have been fantastic. But at the end of the day, you know, my husband and I have been living with mom and dad for 4 months. And so we were just ready to get out, ready to go. And it just, now that we have our tickets booked, it feels like this weight has just been sort of lifted off of us, where we're not waiting in limbo anymore. We can sort of resume our lives. And the sooner we go to Egypt, the sooner we can come home and go back to San Diego, which is really where I want to be living. You know, that's where I'm from. Not really, but that's where I want to be, is back in San Diego, where I have connections for jobs. I've got friends, you know, that's sort of my home base, is in San Diego. And so the sooner we can do this, the sooner we can get back there, and then the sooner we can resume our lives. And so we're really happy to go. We've received tons of support from my parents, and they completely understand that we're not going to be here through Christmas. They understand that the tickets were cheaper now than certainly any time in the end of December into, you know, January. That's like the busiest time of the year for travel. And so everyone's been really supportive, and I'm so thankful for that. A little bit of news about Egypt. As I mentioned, my husband is going to be doing PhD research. He is going to be working mostly in Cairo. Now me, I'm going to be teaching English. I have a job lined up with an awesome English school. They've been recognized by UNESCO. Are you kidding? And they want me to teach for them? What? So I'm going to be working at Reach Out Academy in Doki, Egypt. Doki, Giza. I'm sorry, Giza is the city. And so if you think of Egypt, right, you've got the Nile running more or less through the center of it. Just to the west, to the east of the Nile is Cairo. To the west of the Nile is Giza. So I'm going to be working in Giza. My husband's going to be working in Cairo. And then here's the Nile right in the middle. In the Nile is an island called Al-Gazira, which is the island in Arabic, but it's known by its sort of like, its neighborhood name is called Zamalek, which is also a big Egyptian soccer team. Anyway, so Zamalek, that's where we want to live. So we are going to hopefully be living on an island in the Nile in Egypt, so that I can work over here in Giza, my husband can work over here in Cairo, and I could not be more excited. Like, just even saying that, like, oh, I want to live on an island in the Nile, like, that doesn't even seem real. And so when last year we were living in Alexandria, Egypt, where we were right on the Mediterranean. We had an ocean view from our apartment. Like, we smelled the salt water, and I got to walk across, you know, along the ocean every day if I wanted to. It was surreal, absolutely surreal, just to see the ocean every day and be so close to it. But the Nile, there's something about the Nile that just makes you think, like, oh my God, it's Egypt. Like, I'm in Egypt. Like, I'm going to Egypt again. I'm happy that I'm so excited, because this is going to be my 4th trip to Egypt. I was there as a student in 2010. I lived in Alexandria for a 10-week course. Lived in Alexandria. Paul and I, my husband and I, went for our honeymoon for a week in 2014, and we went to Cairo and Alexandria. Then we lived there just last fall in Alexandria again in fall of 2016, and now here we are. We're about to go to Cairo for 6 to 8 months, you know, into 2018. And so the fact that I'm this excited, I'm really happy. There's a lot to love about Egypt, but then it's still a developing country. And so they have 4G Wi-Fi for your cell phone, but they don't necessarily have trash collection the way that Americans do. And so, like, it's this really interesting dichotomy of all the technology at their fingertips while they're still building up their infrastructure and their, you know, democracy. And at the end of the day, I mean, Egypt went through a revolution in 2011 where they overhauled their government. They ousted their basically dictatorial leader who had been in power for over 30 years, Hosni Mubarak. Egypt has been going through a revolution, and so there's still a lot of, political, I'm not going to say turmoil, because everyone sort of agrees that they want democracy and that, they just don't agree on how to get there and who should be in power, which is absolutely the cornerstone of democracy. You need diversity, you need different parties, you need to have these conversations, these hard conversations in order to make progress. Anyway, sorry, that was like totally a tangent. I'm not trying to, like talk up Egypt, but I'm really proud to know so many Egyptian people. I'm proud to be going there. I'm really happy. And, Arabic is my second language now. These people are my family. This is my second home. I've lived in Egypt more than I've lived in any other country other than America. And that's pretty cool. So I'm really happy to go. As for the podcast, I definitely want to continue filming. I'm hoping to maybe put a couple little, maybe not vlogs, but just little video compilations of, what's everything like in Egypt. But I want to do so respectfully. I definitely don't, think it's my place to film people on the street in Egypt just for my own like Western audience. I don't know how I feel about that, and so I won't be doing that. But if I go to the pyramids, of course I'll take pictures and share that. If I want to, go on the Nile and maybe take a picture of my view out of my apartment, absolutely I'll do it. But I just want to be respectful and conscious of this culture that I'm a part of, that I have wanted to be a part of for years, and that I have, worked hard to understand. And so I can't wait to share that with you guys. That said, last time we were in Egypt, last fall, we did not get our internet installed for the first 8 weeks. And so we basically had our phones 3G. At that point they had 3G, now they have 4G. But we were using our phones 3G to access the internet for 8 weeks. And so I'm not sure what my internet situation is going to be like for at least the first month or so. I definitely will continue knitting as long as I can, but I will also be starting a job and finding an apartment and helping out Paul if he needs anything as well. We're going to be a little bit busy, so I might take a small break from podcasting, but I definitely hope to be back while I'm in Egypt, and I hope to share with you guys some fun videos where you can see what's life like in Egypt, and that's pretty cool. And just to prove that I'm planning to knit in Egypt, today I just bought all the patterns that I'm hoping to knit while I'm there, and I wanted to pay for them, print them out, because I don't think I'll have access to a printer when I'm there, and so I'm, going to be knitting a couple patterns. So this is Neon by Joji Locatelli. Really excited to be knitting this. I've also got, this one actually takes first preference. This is my Owls sweater by Kate Davies Designs. This is also another one. I'm making a baby coat for my, for my little niece. Latte baby jacket, baby coat. You can't see, it's not a great picture here, but this is by Lisa Shemery. And then I'm making 2 of the Stonecroft shawl. Oh my God, is that gorgeous. One for me, one for my mom. And so I've got those patterns. I was planning to knit a few more, but I'm not 100% sold on what pattern yet. So these are the 4 that I know I'm making. At least these are the 4 that I know I want a printed out copy of the pattern before I can, so that I don't mess up by just trying to read it on my computer or something else. I don't know, but I'm keeping it in my nice little thing here so that I can keep it tidy, keep it safe, protect it from the elements just a little bit. I'm going to stick a pen and a highlighter in here and just go to Egypt with it. Yeah, I'm really excited to go. We leave in a week, so this next week is going to be packing, finishing knitting, finishing my baby blanket, hopefully finishing this teddy bear, maybe working on my Veni, Vidi, Vici shawl, not sure about that, but just trying to get as much done before we go. Yeah, we're also trying to see as many friends as we can before we leave, especially because this is probably the last time we're going to be living in Michigan, and I have a huge home base here. I went to high school, college here. I know a lot of people in Michigan, and especially all my friends were of that age where we're all getting married. We're all, going to start having kids and stuff, and so it's been really nice being home. It's been really great having my friends around, especially getting to open see another yarn store open in Clarkston, making new friends there. I mean, it's been really nice, but I'm ready to move on to the next chapter. And so here's to Egypt, here's to Zamalek, and I'm gonna be living in an island in the middle of the Nile next time you hear from me. Yeah. So excited. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me for this shorter episode. I definitely appreciate it. As always, if you like this video or any video from any of your favorite podcasters, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Let me know about that shawl. These sorts of things really help other people find my YouTube channel, help other people, get interested in another podcast. So this goes for all of your favorite podcasters. Like it. Give us a comment. It really helps us out on YouTube to find new viewership. So yeah, ma'a salama, ila liqa. Bye bye. See you next time.